What's up, everybody? It's the Digital World Podcast. And we're going to look at some more clips here by a former SEC commissioner, Robert Jackson. And I found these clips, and it's just good to point out that it's almost like government positions are like a revolving door. People come in, they go, they have interests in mind, etc. And it seems like at the SEC, there seems to be these tactics that are used by the people that work there. Whether you're new or you're old, it doesn't matter. You've been there a little while, you've been there forever. It seems like it's the norm. And let me share this short clip of Robert Jackson. And it will definitely open your eyes a little bit. Here we go.
Oh, but I should say, I hate having to do this. Um, these are only my views. These aren't the views of the chairman or my mother or anybody else. But I fully expect that just given a little more time and wisdom, they'll realize I was right all along. What's on your mind?
Okay, so there you go. And you see that obviously people there, I think, realize that it's not just his views. This is what they see at the SEC or what they believe, and that's the views that they hold. But they just say it's a dirty little trick. And but clearly we see that that's something they all use to say, oh yeah, it's my view. It's not the SEC's views, so as to not hold the SEC liable for any of the comments they make, which was essentially what was done with Hinman. And so I thought you guys should see that and see that this is something that I feel like is a norm at the SEC. Now, back to kind of changing gears here. When we talk about Ripple working with the SEC, you got to wonder, is this all part of the way to establish the Ripple test to set the standard? Because a lot of it doesn't make sense. And here we see Robert Jackson talking about, they want people to come and work with the SEC to do the right thing. And if you're doing the right thing, then you shouldn't be scared of the SEC coming after you because they want to work with you. But on the contrary, we're not seeing that while Jay Clayton was the SEC commissioner. And so I'll go ahead and play the video and you guys can hear for yourself. But he's talking about the principle which he uses to to work with other people and enforce the SEC's laws. So here we go.
I want to say one more thing about that, which is everything I've just said requires me to have the following philosophy, which is if you come to us and do the right thing in a situation like this, we will not penalize. We at the SEC will do everything we can not to penalize the people who are trying to do the right thing. And I can assure you, I have a good working relationship with the chairman and with my colleagues. The terrific enforcement co-directors we have made a real effort to tell companies, if you come in and do the right thing, we are not going to use that as a political opportunity to hurt you. We're going to use it as a moment for a constructive dialogue about what happened and how people can be better prepared. And I think our enforcement division has done a good job of that. But I do think our rules right now are letting the market down, because we're putting boards in a situation where the lawyers can say, hey, 90% of the time you don't have to disclose this, so let's not. And my own view is that the world in which we live, these kinds of things don't stay secret for very long. There are no secrets.
And here I want to go back. So you just heard what he said. But now listen to this. I think this was the key moment of this whole thing.
To hurt you, we're going to use it as a moment for a constructive dialogue about what happened and how people can be better prepared. And I think our enforcement division has done a good job of that. Not going to use that as a political opportunity to hurt you. We're going to use it as a moment for a constructive dialogue about what happened and how people can be better prepared.
See, he said, now I can't speak for Jake Clayton because obviously what he did was quite the opposite of that. But that's kind of like the philosophy that he revolves around. And it makes me wonder if this is something, all these SEC officials say, in front of the camera, but behind doors, it's all about the interests of whoever they're trying to help out. So I thought that was pretty eye-opening, and it is something that we need to be aware of. Now, here's this other clip where he's talking about, and Digital SMS already played this, but I want to kind of reiterate this further on the Hinman speech and how they feel like this is good guidance.
The most helpful thing, I think, our director of corporation finance, Bill Hinman, gave a speech about a year and a half ago that describes this. You might know the speech I have in mind. That's it. So the question is, where do we draw that line? And the how we test and the guidance we put out in this area has informed that difference. Now, one more thing. You mentioned cryptocurrency. What's important about that is to realize that the way that cryptocurrency works, when it is, and this is what Bill Hinman's speech says, so I'm not adding too much, depends fundamentally on how centralized or decentralized the underlying network is that that supports that currency. And that's also true in the ICO context. Bill has said a lot about that, about ways that practitioners can look in that area and get a sense for whether or not we should think of that as a security. And I point people to that speech. Do you think we've been clear enough about that? Yeah, I expected you to say that. Now let me ask you this. No, seriously. I've heard that a lot. What could we do that would be more clear? I want to be clear because a lot of people have come in and asked us for more guidance on this. And it's not that we don't want to be, I don't speak for my colleagues, not that I don't want to be responsive. It's that I worry that if we make a rule today, it will make a lot less sense to the marketplace in 6 months in this space. Do you see what I'm worried about? And better for worse, the machinery of the bureaucracy of the US government works in a fashion where if I were to pitch a rule and know exactly what it was, exactly what we, if you and I could get a beer and agree what the rule should be, by the time it became law, it'd be a year later. And by that time, the ground will have moved underneath us. So if you sense, at least from my point of view, wanting to give this some time to figure out and do it by guidance as opposed to rule, that's what's driving us.
And there you go. And so they clearly, even though they express that it's their own views, like Bill Hinman did, it's providing guidance to the marketplace. And when you see that, you gotta ask yourself, are all these people on the same page? Especially because they know that this space is moving so quickly. And if they set some kind of laws that could move under their feet, and by the time they vote it into law, it will be obsolete. So that's something you got to take into consideration. I hope this episode has brought you some value. Like and subscribe, comment below. What are your thoughts? As always, I like hearing from you. This is the Digital World Podcast, and I'll see you in the next episode.